Hello, everyone. Today we're working on our unit rate review lesson. As you guys can see, you want to get yourself on class notebook. Okay. Once you click on your name on the left side, you'll find Unit 3, Page 1, Unit Rate Review. Mine just looks a little bit different because I'm going to create the key as we work through these. We have our objective for today at the top. I can calculate and compare unit rates. And then we have some DIN questions to start us off. Okay, so by the end of this lesson, we'll have reviewed unit rates that we were working on towards the beginning of the school year. We'll do a little bit of vocab, a little bit of practice, but then we'll be able to answer our exit ticket. And reviewing these unit rates is going to help us out with our next few lessons on proportional relationships. Okay, so let's just take a second. Let's do our DIN first. Go ahead and pause the video now and answer these two questions to the best of your ability, and then come back to our video. Alrighty, hopefully you take a second to answer these on your own. I'm going to go ahead and start filling in our chart here. If we have our ratio, 3 hippos to 4 zebras, right? They tell us we're completing a ratio table, so we know this is a ratio. But then maybe the zoo gets more hippos, and they'll have 6. Maybe in a couple years they get even more hippos and they have 12. Oh, actually, let's start with 9 here. Maybe we'll go 6, 9, and 12. Okay, so they keep getting more and more hippos, but we want to keep the ratio of hippos to zebras the same. Okay, so if I fill in 6, 9, and 12, how many zebras am I going to need to keep that ratio the same? If we notice here, I was counting by 3s. Okay, so I'm adding 3 each time. But on the bottom, in order to keep my ratio the same, I want to take this 4 and count by 4s each time. Okay. So I'm counting here 4, 8, 12, and 16. Okay, so if counting by each number helps you out, that's what we can do. But also, if we're using this ratio, we're kind of multiplying at the same time, right? Like this doubles it, so it would be multiplying by 2. From 3 to 9, we see that we're multiplying by 3. And so we could automatically get this answer as well by multiplying 4 here. So we can kind of fill these in either way, either counting by 3s, adding 3 each time, or maybe we went all the way up to 15 here. And we notice that 15 is 3 times 5, right? That instead of counting all the way up by 4s, we can go 4 and multiply that by 5 as well and get all the way to 20 here. Okay, and we see that matches our pattern. I added 3 and then I added 4. Okay. Now let's try our preview question. We have Miss Martin splitting a pizza with me, Miss Eastman, and Mr. Nasser. Okay. The pizza has 12 slices total, so we want to find how many slices each person will get, and we want to create a visual there. Okay. So we can do this one of 2 ways. We can draw our pizza here, split it up into 12 slices, and then go one by one to see how many slices each person is going to get. Or we can use our division skills, right? And divide 12 over 3 and get our answer that way as well. So I'm going to try both. I want to split this up into 12 slices. So let me try and do that as best as I can. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 here. So it's a little messy, but I have 12 slices. Okay, that's what I'm starting with. And then I want to divide it by 3 people. Okay. If I did this in my calculator or maybe just in my head and I got 4 slices, okay, that's how many slices each person will get. But I could also have just colored in here 1 for each person until all my slices are gone. Right? So each person could have started with 1, then we go back for seconds and they get another 1, thirds, and then fourths, because each person has enough for 4. Okay, so I'm just coloring in these different colors here. Maybe I should label these as well. So maybe we'll say green's Mr. Nasser, blue was Miss Martin here, and we'll say these last 4 slices here are for me, Miss Eastman. Okay, so we could have either used our visual or just divided and found our answer. Then we want to review some vocab. Okay, so in these 2 examples here, we were creating those ratios. There was a ratio of hippos to zebras, which was 3 to 4. And we had a ratio of slices to people, right? 12 to 3, which gave us 4 slices each. Slices to people, okay, is 3 people to 4 slices, right? So if I'm filling in my vocab words here, ratio is the relationship between 2 quantities. Okay, so like I said, in our first example, we had 3 hippos to 4 zebras. So I could write that like this using my little colon here. I could have written 2 to 5. That's another ratio, right? Or I can write my ratios kind of like this, like we did here, and said 4 to 6, if that's another ratio of an example. So we can write those all 3 ways. Our next vocab word that we're reviewing today is our rate. Okay, so a rate is a special ratio with 2 different units. Okay, a special ratio with 2 different units. And if I'm writing an example here, maybe I have 3 scoops of ice cream. I'm going to try to write this as neat as I can here. 3 scoops twice a day. Okay, so a rate has 2 different units. This would be 3 scoops. That's 1 unit here. And then they're saying that's 2 times a day. So my units are scoops and days. Okay, so our ratio is the relationship between 2 quantities. Rate is a special ratio with 2 different units. And then we have a unit rate, which is a rate, like it's in the word, right? A rate in which the second quantity is for 1 unit. Okay, so we have ratios. We have more specifically a special ratio with 2 different units. And then if we get even more specific here, a unit rate is a special rate in which the second quantity is only for 1 unit, right? So I could write my examples here. I'm going to type these out. They're a little bit longer. I could have 60 miles per hour. Remember the word per there means per 1 hour. So it'd be 60 miles to 1 hour, right? For 1 unit. Or maybe I could have, let's say, $15 per hour, right? That's a rate that you would maybe be paid at work, right? $15 for 1 hour. Okay. Now that we have our kind of review a little bit and some vocab, we can do some notes together and a little procedure here. And then I want you guys to try the practice on your own. All right, so let's do some notes together here. Our first question says Walmart is advertising a back-to-school sale on pencils. A pack of 30 pencils sells for $7.97, whereas a 12-pack of the same brand costs $4.77. Okay, so without doing any calculations, they want us to find how much the 30-pack of pencils is going to cost. Okay. Walmart is advertising a back-to-school sale on pencils. It tells us a pack of 30 sells for $7.97. Without doing any calculations, how much is the pack of 30? And we should see here that it's about $8, right? We can estimate a little bit. So it tells us here $7.97, but this keyword about tells us we're allowed to estimate. So I'm going to go ahead and estimate that to about $8. Okay. And then we have another question here. Without doing any calculations, what would be a reasonable price for one pencil in the 30 pack? If it's $8 for 30 pencils, let's take an estimate here. How much do you think it's going to be for one pencil out of that pack? Okay, without any calculations, estimate here. How many do you think it's going to be for one pencil in that 30 pack? I'm going to go ahead and circle C here. I think it's going to be about 25 cents. Okay. And then we want to test some things out with our chart. So we have a pack of 30 pencils and a pack of 12 pencils. Let's look at the relationship first. So if I look at my question here, 30 pencils was $7.97 for every 30 pencils. That's the relationship. The cost to the amount of pencils. Okay, cost to the amount of pencils. And for a 12 pack, it was $4.77 for every 12 pencils. So that's our other relationship there. The ratio for these is very, very similar. Okay, we have $7.97 to 30. And I think you guys can fill this one in as well. Okay, we have $4.77. Oops, add that in here. Dollar sign here. Okay, $4.77 to 12 pencils. The rate here, okay, we could write as $7.97. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and draw this one in, just because, well, I can type it. Okay, guys, maybe I'll type it here and I'll use my math tool. I'll show you guys how to do that if you don't know. $7.97. I'm going to go ahead and put my slash here for 30. Then when I highlight this and click this math button here, it's going to go ahead and create that equation for me. It's going to make it a fraction, sorry, expression, which looks like a fraction. Same thing over here, $4.77. Oh. Okay, our rate and ratios are very, very similar, right? They're just showing that relationship that we already had there. But now if I was using or turning this into a unit rate, I need to figure out how much it's going to cost for only one pencil. Okay, so if we go back to my vocab here, the reason why we need to do that is because a unit rate is a rate in which the second quantity is only for one unit. So we're going to have a cost of however much money, but my second quantity, my second thing in the relationship needs to be only one for one pencil. Okay, so I'm going to actually go ahead and divide this. If I have my rate here, 797 over 30, it looks kind of like a fraction, which is the same thing as division, right? So if I divided those in a calculator, it would actually give me my unit rate. And that is going to be the cost of 27 cents. Okay, so our guess was super, super close here. It's a cost of 27 cents. But if I go and do that for this sale, this pack of 12 pencils, even though these are cheaper, you're getting less pencils. And it turns out our unit rate is more expensive for just one pencil here. Add in my dollar sign. Okay. And my unit of measure is dollars per pencil. Okay, so we figured out our unit rate. This is per one pencil. Even though I was saying 27 cents and 40 cents, I kind of wrote that in dollar form. So it's $0.27, $0.40. So our units should be dollars per pencil. Okay. And then we can answer the question of which is better and why, right? Because we have this unit rate and we saw that even though these are more expensive at first, you're getting more pencils for this cost each one. Okay, but if you buy the 12 pack, it looks like it's cheaper at first, but you're actually spending more money on each pencil. When I explain this here, maybe I'll say the pack of 30, better buy, a better deal, right? Each pencil costs only 27 cents. Whoops, sorry, 0.27. Compared to the 40 cents, the 12 pack. And I should have added my dollar sign here as well. All right. So what we did there, we took the relationships that gave us in the equation, or in the question, sorry. Then we created a ratio or a rate. So our ratio was 797 to 30 pencils, 477 to 12 pencils. These are very, very similar here. Our rate we can then use to divide into a unit rate, and that helped us answer this final question here. Okay, so the procedure that we just did is writing something as a rate looks like a fraction, right? So we took that relationship, that ratio, and we wrote it as a rate, which looked like a fraction. Then to find the unit rate, we had to divide. Okay, so writing something as a rate is the same thing as a fraction. But to find our unit rate, we take that fraction and divide. And we have a couple of words here that could mean unit rate. So they're not always just going to ask you for it there, right? They're not going to say that right out every single time. But we know some keywords already. We know the word per. I'm actually going to go ahead and type these in. We know the word per. We know the word, oops, the words for each. right? Or they could say for every. So for each pencil, for every pencil, it costs this. For one pencil, these are all the same thing. That means unit rate. Okay, it's one of the item. Okay, I feel like I've been rambling on and on. We have lots of notes in here today. We're reviewing our unit rate, a little bit of ratios and looking at the relationships. We have our procedure down. Now we're going to use that for our practice and our exit ticket. Okay, so pause the video and then come back and I'll have our answers up for us. Okay. Pause the video there. I'll put our answers up for us. And if there are any questions at all, make sure you're asking your teachers those. Let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and type these in here. So hopefully you pause your video and then we can check our answers here. 1225 over 25 pounds. Pounds can be abbreviated LBS. Going to equal $0.49 per pound. And remember, we can go ahead and highlight these and they should turn it into math for us. This pound should be on the bottom here, but that's okay. If I look at number 2, we have kind of a similar situation going on. 1269 over 27 pounds. When I divide that out, it's going to give me $0.47 per pound. Okay. And then I can go ahead and answer which is the better buy. Which one is cheaper per pound? And we have our proof here. Oh man, this fraction did not look great. We should just, that 27 pounds should be right underneath there, but that's okay. And I'm gonna leave the exit ticket for you guys to do so your teacher can look at your individual work and give you some feedback there. Just make sure you do this self-reflection and then you're all set for this lesson. Great job, guys.